I've grown up playing hockey along with members of the LGBTQ plus community, and I'm incredibly grateful that I have, because it's something that's just been incredibly normal and welcomed and valued. I think in the teams that I've been part of, I still think there's a long way to go, and I don't think we're perfect, and I still think we can do things to make our sport and our environment more accessible. So I'm not saying we're perfect, but yeah, I think if we bring as many people as we can along, and as I said before, kind of stamp out anything that's not deemed acceptable and use the profile and platforms that we have as individuals and as a squad, then there's some of the parts that we can play. So one thing as a squad in the Tokyo cycle that we're incredibly passionate about and something that we wanted to work on was just being good people, learning about our history, and helping communities that had suffered. So we hadn't before been allowed to wear a rainbow armband, but whilst we were out at the Olympics in the preparation camp, it got announced that we would be allowed to wear one if we wanted to. Knowing the squad and the conversations we'd had over the cycle, I knew it would be something that the squad would want me to do and support me to do. So then it became a way of how could we get a rainbow armband over there in time for the games. So it's something incredibly important to the whole squad. We as a squad want to represent as many people as we can and just be allies to the LGBTQ plus community. So as a squad and as GB hockey players, we're in such a privileged position to be able to play for our country and be role models for a lot of other people. And I think part of that comes the responsibility to represent some underprivileged and minority groups. And as I said before, I think our squad are incredibly passionate about that. And we just want to make it really clear that our sport is for everyone. Everyone is welcome. It doesn't matter on who you are and who you love, and everyone is equally welcome in our sport, and actually the difference of people is what makes our squad incredibly strong, and we just wanted to send that message out there to the sporting community. I think sport has got a huge role to play and has played a role. As I mentioned, we're in a really privileged position and we're role models. And I think there has been a huge difference between Rio Olympics and the 5 years in Tokyo, but there's still so much further to go to make everyone feel accepted. And I think, as I said before, we have a responsibility to play some of that role. And hopefully by Paris, we'll have made another huge step forward by just normalising conversations. I think as a sport, a women's hockey squad, we're kind of one step ahead. We're used to meeting lots of different people and playing with different people, and therefore we've got a role to stamp out anything that isn't acceptable and that we don't seem to be right. So yes, we have a role, yes it's important, but there's still a huge way to go. It doesn't matter if you're part of that community or not. Being an ally, being a friend is incredibly important, and the responsibility that I take very seriously, and I think a lot of people in our squad do. So yeah, it's a privilege and an honour and something that I'm very happy to do and should be doing. I think obviously the LGBTQ plus History Month is a great platform to highlight some of these issues, but yeah, it shouldn't be a month. It should be something that's in our conscious and we should be trying to help with throughout the whole year. I think one thing we all can do is educate ourselves a little bit, and that involves going out there and sourcing some information. It also involves speaking to people and asking questions, and just educating yourself a little bit in terms of what are the things that people in that community face every day, which you wouldn't, and kind of trying to put yourself in someone else's shoes to then really understand in terms of how you can help them and how you can make your community more accessible to them. So I think that's a huge one. And then I think another one is just stamp out anything that isn't acceptable in the moment. It's not okay to just let someone say something or do something and just ignore it. I think we all have a responsibility to stand up and defend what is right and what is wrong. So I think that's something else that we can all do.